Boom.
Hey, Daniel, let me disconnect my phone now that I have connection with you, okay?
Go ahead.
I'll be right back.
William going to turn his phone down there. Could interview the chair. Clint Eastwood did.
I wanted to make sure I left it connected in case you had to call me for whatever reason.
Well, I'll appreciate you. That's a good backup there plan there, William. Well,
Very good.
All right. William Shehan, writer of the book Bigfoot Terror in the Woods. There's some scary stuff going on out there?
There certainly is, and it's a series of books. It's as of right now, it's 7 books, and I have about 4 or 5 of them in audiobook as well. So it's interesting, and my brother and I started doing a podcast a while ago, back almost a year ago now, and there's definitely some high strangeness going on in the world if you believe all of the people, and I do. I'm not saying everybody is telling the truth, but it's not going to be on my part that I nitpick and pull people down, after they come forward and say this is what I saw and this is what happened. So I take the stand that I listen to the people, I put out there. There are some things I haven't put out there that I've deemed to be just total hokum. And that's just a personal preference of my own. But others, I learn a lot, Daniel, from the people I talk to. And when you talk to some of these people who are out there, guide services, ecology people, professional hunters, the things they teach me and that I learn from them lead me to believe that they're kind of no-nonsense people. And, if they tell me thus, and so happened, well, I just put it out there and let you and I discuss it and let people make up their own minds about it.
So you research stories. And how do people get you their stories, William?
Well, right now, you can't believe how many people respond to me via the podcast. And also in the front of the books, I ask people, if you've seen something, say something. That was a saying that was derived after 9/11 in New York. The police department said, if you see something on a subway, on the street, something that looks out of place, a package, a backpack, report it. So I kind of coined the same phrase and said, if you see something, say something. And a lot of people contact me, and you just can't believe the things that people are seeing out there. I had a fellow a while ago in Wyoming. He lives in the foothills of the Rockies. He worked for the sheriff's department. He worked for the Forestry Service. And he also ran a guide service for pack trips into the Rockies, 3, 5, and 7 days. And, this guy looked like Cochise from the old Lone Ranger. He was, and the things these people teach you about hunting and the wilderness, they know things that I'll never know. So I don't really take a stand that it's worth arguing with these people. They come across as honest to me, and there's nothing to gain.
I talked to you just a second before the show, William. Now you're on Long Island.
That's correct. Yep, Long Island, New York.
And I see somebody in our live chat. Rose says she's from New York, and she says I'm up in New York. But you guys under quarantine up there or not?
Well, I don't know what's going on in the rest of the country, but most of the businesses are shut down. There's no restaurants. The gym I like to go to is closed. All the gyms are closed. Food is available via restaurant if you're takeout only. I think I told you I work in a hospital as well as my wife.
Yeah.
And our hospital has no visitors. If you come into the ER, you're only allowed to come in alone unless you're a child or there's some extenuating circumstances. And what we're trying to do is flatten the curve of new cases. They're testing more people. We're bound to find many more people that have this coronavirus. But what we're trying to do is lessen the amount of people who are passing it one to the other, thereby getting control over it, allowing most of these cases to resolve themselves, or those who are in more dire need to be treated. And hopefully, God willing, we can flatten this thing out and come out on the other side victorious.
Are you doing okay? You and the missus?
Yeah, we're doing good. Like I said, we work in the hospital. So, when I took this job, Daniel, my father was passing away many years ago.
Oh.
I was in a line of work that was totally different. And I was so impressed by the staff in the hospital where my father was that I actually prayed a little prayer. And I said, God, I want to be involved in this in some way, shape, or form. It was like my heart was just grabbed by the smiles on the faces, their willingness to help. And I said, I don't understand how they do this. I really don't understand how they do this type of work. Well, now here I am. So the prayer was answered, and I've been involved in the position I'm in now for over 10 years. My wife also works in the hospital. So it's, I tell people all the time, if you're in the hospital business and you get sick of taking care of people, you're in the wrong line of work. Because, everybody needs help at some point in their life. And
this, what I'm going to say here is normally reserved for police and military, but thank you for your service. Because,
thank you.
Being in a hospital, taking chances, you're obviously taking chances because of your concern for other people. That is so commendable, and it is very inspiring. All of us really should look for ways to service others, or try to help others. I know my wife and I, we try to, in their time of store shutdowns, we were looking for little own shops in our neighborhood that need a hand, and so we try to frequent them to keep them from going out of business. But all of us have a part to play. I think Trump said we're all in this together. Democrats and Republicans are all in this together. I wish it wasn't a Democrat or Republican thing. I wish it was just Americans. But we've got to pull together, and man, you guys are on the front lines. That's just it. You're risking your life, no matter how much protection you use. You're risking your life out of heart service for humanity, and that's very commendable, William, and I appreciate it. So, well, I guess I don't know if I kind of going in the wrong direction there, but I think that was important. Maybe I can tie it in. Maybe I don't want to be facetious, but I suppose this isn't affecting any other creatures.
Well, the coronavirus, we've had many viruses around. And the problem with this one is we don't have a herd immunity. We've never been introduced to this before. So anybody that this thing takes hold of, it's the first time round. It's the first go round. Everybody has to build up antibodies against what's coming down the road. And we know that even with those antibodies having been built up through the years, we still have need for vaccinations. So as far as it's an unknown, I think you're getting at, do you think any members of the animal kingdom are being affected by this?
Right, and in particular, a specific animal.
The Bigfoot. When I run into him, I'll ask him.
Okay. just throwing it out there. Lighten it up a little bit,
Yeah.
Humor. Well, we these are dark times, William, and we need a little bit of humor here and there.
Well, you came to the right place.
All right,
because I'm all about humor, and I'm all about lightening it up, because I know, laughter does good like a medicine, and there's nothing wrong. We have what we call in the hospital humor.
Oh,
I mean, we joke about death. We joke about things I won't even talk about on the air. But it's a strange thing that, when you're in the midst of something, that you can learn to laugh about it. You know
okay,
what I mean?
Hey, William, I don't know if you can take this, but I got a story.
Go ahead.
Okay, years ago, I was a young man, believe it or not, and I was living in an apartment, okay,
right,
and the I kept smelling this smell. It smelled like cabbage. Okay. Now cabbage is something that my mom gave me to eat when I was a kid, and
Right.
I hated it so much. Oh, I couldn't stand it. I fed it to the dog. I threw it down. I would take it upstairs in my bedroom and I'd throw it in the warmer. I don't know where it went. Go down this thing. It was the heat come up, but the food was cabbage was going down. I mean, I couldn't stand it, man. It's like if I want to get punished, she would give me some cabbage. Okay. So anyway, so I'm in my apartment and I start smelling cabbage. I'm thinking, I don't know if I can say this. I go, damn. The woman upstairs, she cooking cabbage. Well, second day come along, she's still cooking cabbage. Third day come along. And I'm thinking, man, this is ridiculous, because when you know that smell, and it's just one of those things that I've been scarred with, and so I knew that, and so about third day, all of a sudden, paramedics showed up, and it turned out, and they went upstairs to the woman that was right above me, and turned out she'd committed suicide 3 days earlier,
Oh my
and
God.
she was in the tub and she got stuck. Okay, she bloated up. Now I don't know, but the paramedics. I don't know if it's hospital humor or what, man, but one guy said, look, I heard him standing right there. He goes, look, man, I'm going to let you wear my suit up there, but if she pops on you, you're cleaning it up. and another guy said, hey, when we get this one out, we won't even need a stretcher because rigor mortis is set in. I was like, is that hospital humor or not?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's, you know, you don't know what it's like to deal with. When I saw the first flatline occur on a monitor I was looking at, and the realization had come to me that this person just expired.
Mm-hmm.
The person just expired in front of me. It opens your eyes to the fact that none of us are going to live forever, and so to deal with these things, whether you're an EMT, a police showing up at an accident scene, seeing somebody die, fighting in a war, you come up with ways. I think it's just a part of the parasympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight. Well, in this case, we're kind of creating a little humor to protect ourselves, to kind of override the notion that maybe you want to cry, or maybe you're going to gag, or maybe you're thinking, I'm not going to do this work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to be there. And so this, I think, is what happens with the EMTs when they show up for a suicide. So it's interesting, though,
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you're saying, that everybody has ways of dealing with it. And man, again, that's the things that the first responders do and have to see and live with. I would think you guys would need some counseling and stuff, maybe.
Well, many of them do. I'm personally, I rely heavily on my prayer life, so I make no bones about that. I mean, I'm in the trenches before I get to the trenches.
I like that, and in fact, and I like your humor, man. We're gonna have a good time tonight. And in fact, as you can see, I think you can see it. Do you call yourself the prophetic pundit on Facebook?
Well, I had been doing a blog, basically a Christian blog, for a while, but I kind of put that down for a little bit. I've been doing so much writing. I just finished writing. I'm in the midst of writing Bigfoot Volume 9, Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Volume 9. Volume 8 is going to be coming out very soon. And I just finished a trilogy, 3 books called The Exorcists.
Whoa.
And the first one is called Exorcist Diabolica, which is being approved on Amazon right now as we speak. The next one is The Exorcist Truth and Lies. That should be done within the month. And the last one is called The Exorcist Full Moon. These are fictional books about real happenings. That is the diabolical possession of individuals who don't necessarily start off on the path they end up on. This is usually what happens when it comes to a person who is initially oppressed and then or possessed by a demonic entity. Now, a lot of people hear me talking in the land of Bigfoot, Uh, I had a conversation with a fellow on the phone the other night. He had emailed me after listening to the podcast. And he said to me, WJ, why is everything with you a demon? Demon this, demon that, demon this, demon that. He says, that's lame. So I said to him, basically, it sounds like a good basis for a conversation. Why don't you give me a call? And that's the way I am. We were on the phone for about an hour, and I was explaining to him how my belief in the world of Bigfoot, Dogman, some of these sightings of entities that people are claiming they see, I believe there are two sides to this coin. I think there is a natural, if we look at just Bigfoot for a minute.
Oh, let's look at him.
I believe in the world of Bigfoot, there are two things going on. You have a real life created being, the Sasquatch, that has been known for who knows how many years.
Right.
Then I believe there's another mimicking of the Sasquatch creature. And one of the most recent things I saw that kind of solidified this in my own mind, if you believe what you're looking at, did you happen to see the most recent series, Expedition Bigfoot?
No. Is that on Netflix?
I saw it on my regular TV network, which is like the History or Travel Channel or something.
Okay.
These guys did a 10-segment series somewhere out in the Pacific Northwest. I think it was Wyoming or Oregon. And one of the things I'll just dig into with you was there was a couple of segments where they picked up on a creature, something, giving off an enormous heat signature moving around. But what I'm getting at is in the two videos that were taken with the infrared, both of these things, whatever they were, seemed to walk behind a hard edge. In other words, a straight line, or what one might describe as like a curtain. Now, if you're giving off heat, if I have a camera on Daniel, or Daniel has a camera on me, and I'm marching along through the woods, even if I step behind a tree, eventually I'm going to come out. You're going to pick me up somewhere. I don't care how dense the foliage is. You're going to see a spot or two of red or yellow highlighted as we go walking through. So I don't know what to make of that, other than I think there's something else going on there. What are these things disappearing into? Where are they going?
Do you think it could be a portal?
Who knows? And if we say it's a portal, Daniel, where does a portal go?
Well, that's it. Now, I've got to, I speculate this. Okay, listen to this. I have a lot of Bigfoot people on here, so I've seen a lot of different angles. So I had to come up with my own hypothesis. On another planet, you got your aliens. Okay, they got they're the ones that created the Bigfoot, and they're sort of like pets, guard creatures, and such like that. But they're trained to fight off enemies. So what they do is they come down to Earth and they drop them in the forest. And then they say, you've got to, for your training, for your military training type of thing, you have to remain out of sight of humans that are roving around in the forest. You have to use your skill and intellect to outrun them, to fake them out. And then they gain their skills. And then later they come back and pick them up, bring them back to their whole planet, and then they're all ready to go.
Wow. Okay. So my take, first of all, I wish I would have brought one to the table with me today, because we could have talked about some of the accounts I have relative to aliens. This is my take on that.
Okay.
I've had numerous UFO encounters.
Whoa.
I've also had numerous encounters with angels. I believe that the entire UFO scene is the demonic. I don't believe they're creatures from another planet. I believe they are demon spirits. And I believe that this whole thing is designed to dupe mankind into believing there's something else other than a creator.
Mm.
So if you're talking to me, that's my point of view. And by the way, you are talking to me.
Yes.
Now, I've
Okay.
had a number of accounts where people have seen UFO activity associated with the Bigfoot. One of them, what's the name of that place? Dream Lake? I want to say Dream Lake, Washington, Northern California.
Okay.
At any rate, these people had gone out for kind of like a beer bash and some guitar playing at this lake in the middle of the night.
All right.
And what they encountered was a spacecraft that they initially saw coming over a mountaintop. They watched it come down with what appeared to be searchlights scanning the countryside below it.
Mm-hmm.
Then they saw something at a distance as this thing hovered, being drawn up into like a central tube of light. Fast forward into the story, the craft eventually started moving towards them. And when it got near to them, they saw that what they saw get picked up in this tube of light was actually a Bigfoot creature.
Well, now, that is also something that is talked about the Skinwalker Ranch.
That is a creep show, that place.
Yeah, it is a creep show, and there have been several reports of portals opening up and Bigfoot's coming out. I was at the Gen 6 conference last year, and they said that this portal opened up, and a Bigfoot, he was crawling because it was like maybe a 4-foot round, so he's crawling down the tunnel, and then he gets his hands and puts one on each side of the portal, pulls himself out and steps out, and then goes running. So I don't think you're too far away from that.
Yeah, now I know exactly what you're talking about, and I heard that on a George Knapp interview.
Yeah, he's the one that said it.
I didn't hear it described, though, as a Bigfoot. I heard it was a dark entity that came crawling through this tube, climbed out, and darted across the landscape. Mm-hmm. But I've also had two different accounts where people have seen a Bigfoot come out of what they're describing as a portal mm-hmm. or some type of entryway. Now, to me, Daniel, that's not a living creature. That's some type of creature, but mm-hmm. it's not a flesh and blood. You and I don't come climbing in and out of portals, my friend. I'm pretty much here where you see me, and I'm not just going to vanish from my writing desk here and climb into a tube, crawling off into oblivion somewhere.
Well, I thought about it, but no tube showed up in the studio here. Hey, give me.
Oh my goodness!
All right, give me a second. I got to acknowledge some late arrivals in our chat. Scott Richardson's joined us. Peter from Australia. Daniel Hinkle. Life Station Express. Welcome back. Truth and Treasure. Doreen 8951. Overbill Automotive and Paul Cece's. A couple of previous guests there as well. But William, so portals is one thing. You're suggesting, in your point of view, and you wrote a series of books on it and had a lot of stories given to you. Do any of those people, and we have one of them right up at the top here, the Michigan Upper Peninsula encounter. Did any of them express to you that they felt like they were demons?
No.
So your conjecture that they're of a demonic origin is coming from the accumulation of stories you've heard. The only thing that makes sense.
Well, it's really a personal belief based on my spiritual upbringing and my own experiences. To me, that's more of a God-given thing between me and the Creator than between me and Daniel. Because most people that I speak to about such things kind of hit me with a wink and a nod. And I can only imagine what they say about me, when I leave the room or when they hang up the phone, But I take the stance that I'm not here to impress anybody. I mean, I live my life that way, If I was out to impress people, I wouldn't be doing anything that I'm doing now. I mean, you should see the look. Everybody I work with knows what I do, mm-hmm. as far as with the Bigfoot. Now with the books on exorcism, a couple of my coworkers, kind of on the side are in agreement, but most of them, everything's a big joke, a grin on the face. Yeah, right. And that's mm-hmm. the way the majority of people look at these things. Mm-hmm. I mean, but as far as the demonic, Even my brother shakes his head when I talk about it. But I say to him, Kev, it's pretty. Another thing that's very odd is why do some of these Bigfoot, why are some of them seen with glowing red eyes with no source of illumination or no light shining upon them?
Mm-hmm.
And why are others seen with natural looking, like amber or yellow eyes with black pupils and irises?
Mm.
What's going on with that? Do you know anything else out there in the woods that has glowing red eyes?
No, I don't.
There he is. Daniel has them.
I don't know. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute, Daniel.
Maybe something else has glowing red eyes there. You didn't see that coming, did you, WJ?
I love it. I love it. But no, it's true. I mean, to me, glowing red eyes. Let's take a look at something else when we talk about paranormal or the demonic.
Okay, yeah.
Are you a fan of any of these ghost hunter shows that have been on in recent years?
I've watched plenty of them.
Okay. So then you know that everything they see shows up as darkness, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Hat Man, shadow figures,
Dog Man.
And what are the eyes that they typically see when eyes are seen in these ghost shows? They're glowing red.
Right.
These fiendish, glowing red eyes. So, as the Christian guy that I am, God is light and in him is no darkness at all. That's my understanding. That's my belief. Whenever you see anything in darkness or representing darkness, that should tell you something right there, in my opinion, that it is not from the Creator. And if it's not from him, what is it? So I kind of leave that out there for you. People can make their own decisions, but I definitely have some lines drawn in the sand as far as what I believe.
Okay. Doreen wants to know, is Bigfoot under quarantine?
Good luck trying to keep him under quarantine if he is.
By the way, Meow M joined us in the live chat as well. I think we mentioned that earlier. Jim Taylorson has joined us as well. Jim says, William, have you met a Bigfoot?
No, other than my mother-in-law.
But you said you saw UFOs.
Yes.
Okay, tell us about your UFO sighting.
Well, I've had a number of them. Like we could talk about UFOs for hours, but I'll share one of them with you. My wife and I were out at Shinnecock Inlet one day, and as a matter of fact, I was just out there today. We were seal watching.
Wow.
We were looking at the seals and with our binoculars.
Okay.
Now, Shinnecock Inlet is it's just that. It's an inlet between Great South Bay and the Atlantic Ocean here on Long Island. We were sitting there.
Okay.
At a little area that you would call maybe like an overlook.
Okay.
Big expanse of ocean beach right in front of us, packed with people.
Okay.
Just outside of Shinnecock Inlet, there was a large can in the water, and it's called the 1 Mile Buoy. And this buoy is where boats coming in, there's a big fishing fleet over there. Mm-hmm. Boats are supposed to correct themselves at that point and then follow that line coming in, because half of the inlet is unnavigable and the other half is deep water for the boats to come in.
Okay.
Now, of course, we have all kinds of navigational stuff, so I don't even know if the buoy really serves a purpose other than a marker now. Mm-hmm. Well, we were sitting there, broad daylight, beautiful blue skies, not a cloud in the sky, people all over the beach.
All right.
And a ball of blue light appears out over the ocean, a gigantic ball of blue light. And because I'm like an observer, my father was a pilot. He was a weather observer.
Right.
We grew up around bird watching, celestial navigation, sailing, identifying warbirds, all kinds of aircraft. My first thought was, is anybody else looking at this?
Right.
So I looked down at all of the people on the beach. I didn't see a single person pointing at this thing. It was gigantic. The second thing I said was to my wife, look at that. And she looked. And then my third thing was to see if it was reflecting on the water. Mm-hmm. It seemed to be, now we're talking a buoy that's a mile away,
Mm-hmm.
and it seemed to me to be maybe 200 or 300 feet off the ocean surface,
Mm.
and it was reflecting itself on the top of the water. So a mirage doesn't reflect its image. And then a second sphere appeared next to it. One white, one blue, both the same size, both shimmering, both with a perfectly round border to them. And the inside looked like it was swirling around. Very difficult to describe. Well, as we were watching them, one would shrink and vanish. No smoke, no
Mm-hmm.
nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It would reappear. Then the other one would shrink and vanish.
Wow.
And then it would reappear. This went on for quite a while. In fact, it went on for so long, we left while it was still going on.
Wow.
Now, when people say, how come nobody gets a picture of it? I had a camera in my car. At the time, I think it was a Canon Sure Shot. So it was a single shot camera, not like the cameras we have today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can only tell you that I was in somewhat of like a trance. I was mesmerized in the event. And I didn't even think of taking a photograph of what I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds crazy, but when it happens to you, you'll understand. And I was standing there next to my car with my wife. We're looking at the people on the beach. I don't know if the people were afraid to point and look. There was a lot of children. I really don't know what was going on. I know that we were looking at it, but I really can't say I didn't see anybody else. I didn't see anybody else looking at it. I certainly didn't see anybody else pointing at it. So what do you make of that? I mean, that's a very strange thing.
Well, there is something to that. It seems like, I mean, that goes with the abduction things that they say there'll be two people in a bed, but one will get abducted. Say that's for those that say that's happening. But they said the person next to them seems to be paralyzed, and then others say that if they're alone in bed, that when they are visited by let's just say creatures of some kind, like we have in our background right now, when these guys show up, they're like paralyzed and they can't, you think you see them going to jump up, scream and start running, but they're paralyzed. So there does seem to be something, maybe a beam of some kind that is projected out. And so you're not being able to, I mean, they could have sent a message to your brain not to take a picture. Let's get a quick question in here though for you. It says, from Raul, it says, well, if Bigfoot are demons, does that mean they can't die?
Well, see, I don't believe all Bigfoot are demons. So let that individual not misunderstand what I'm saying.
Okay.
I think there are real flesh and blood creatures out there.
Okay.
And I think there are others who are, as I said before, mimicking those things. If you look at the biblical perspective, there's a scripture that says that we should be careful when we entertain strangers because we're unaware when we are actually entertaining an angel. Angels can appear as you and I. Mm-hmm. And then, boom, we've all heard stories about the hitchhiker getting in the car and then talking to me. Next thing I know, the seat's empty and I'm doing 50 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. What's that all about? Mm-hmm. Obviously, that person picked up somebody they thought was hitching a ride. Now, nobody really does that anymore, not around here. We used to hitch rides all the time. Mm-hmm. But it seems like the hitchhiking thing is all but gone now.
All right.
But this same thing, I think, is going on with these Bigfoot. I think some of them are legit and some of them aren't. Mm-hmm. So to answer your callers or your
chatter,
your chatter's question, do they die? I'm sure they do. I've always believed that they bury their dead. It's total conjecture on my part. Mm-hmm. I have, as a matter of fact, today, if we get into reading a couple of accounts I pulled in here, mm-hmm. There's something to be said about Bigfoots leaving other creatures' bones around in the woods, mm-hmm. and other animals who would naturally chew on them or eat them or gnaw them away.
Whoa.
Don't want anything to do with them.
That'd be some
so
tough...
this is an oddity that's also going on out there. Now, when people say, well, where are the bones? Mm-hmm. I have no idea.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I mean, if you buried me out in Shenandoah Forest, good luck trying to find me. You know, who's going to go out there unless you build a shopping mall?
Right on, right on.
You know, I
So,
mean,
well,
where you going to find what's buried in the
mhm.
middle of 100,000 acres of wilderness?
Well, WJ, let's talk about it. What about the Michigan Upper Peninsula encounter? What happened there?
Oh, that was a crazy story. Uh, these two guys had met each other in Marine Corps,
Hmm.
and they struck up a friendship. And they said that, when we're all said and done here, we'll keep in touch. So this one fella up in the Michigan Upper Peninsula uh, was of Scandinavian descent, and he had family up there that lived up there for like 100 years or better. He invited him up there to hunt and fish.
Okay.
Well, when they went up there, they finally got together and got up there. He took them into the wilderness up there in this giant truck that he named Littlefoot after the original Bigfoot
Well,
F-250 Ford. Well, the long and short of it, they had an encounter with a creature up there. They actually had a couple of encounters with this creature, and I'd encourage the people to read the story because it's too lengthy to tell you everything that went on. But they actually fired shots at what they believed was a Bigfoot next to their tent at night, and this thing went screaming and howling off into the woods. The following day or the day after that, they had gone back to fish some more. And when they came back, their campsite was ransacked and the truck was virtually destroyed.
hmm.
So the only thing they found worthy of evidence was two areas on the hood that looked like somebody took a log and smashed them down on it.
Hmm.
The cap on the truck was broken. They found one hair caught in a crack in the fiberglass that he saved after the fact and brought back to the house. But if you believe these guys, this creature destroyed this truck. He pulled the winch motor out of the steel bumper. He pulled the other winch motor cable. He had a winch front and rear on the truck. He pulled the other cable right out of the motor. They're out in the woods with nobody around, nothing there. They had this encounter. And what are you to say about that? Who destroys a truck to that extent in the middle of the woods when there's nobody around?
Mm. Mm. Hey, got a great,
Sir,
got a
yeah,
great,
go ahead. No,
great
go ahead.
question great question come in for you. Are Bigfoots, you think, native to this planet?
The real ones, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I believe these things have been around for a long time.
And WJ, how big do you think these creatures get?
Well, there's reports of, as a matter of fact, I have a report here I called the Tennessee tree stand incident, if you want to get into that.
Yeah, sure.
But this fellow claimed he was in a tree stand that was set at 25 feet, and this creature grabbed him by the heel of his boot.
Hmm.
Now, I say to my brother, to me, Kev, when people give descriptions, it's very difficult, especially if you have no real experience, or even if you were shocked at the time something happened, to really be accurate. You're trying to describe something that you've never experienced before. So when I say to you, how big was it? How tall was it, Daniel? And you say 10 feet. Well, really, what you're saying to me was something massive. Whether it was 8 feet or 12 feet or 9.5, we're talking something very, very large.
Mm.
And if you say to me it was 6 feet at the shoulders, maybe it was 4 feet at the shoulders. That's still one big bugger. So if you say it's 1,000 pounds, or I've had people say 2,000 pounds. Have you ever stood next to a Clydesdale?
No, but I've seen them on a commercial.
It is insane. When you get next to one of these creatures, it's a surreal experience that something living and breathing is that big. It's just beyond massive. It's beyond human understanding. We're used to seeing maybe a cow or a steer being big, certainly an elephant at the zoo. But amongst other living creatures, these things that people are seeing, for the most part, when they're seeing what appears to be adult creatures, they're gigantic. And people just don't know how to handle gigantic. I mean, I believe some people are really accurate in their descriptions, and others are just like blown away by how huge they are. They're kind of like beyond description, you know?
William, is there enough to eat in the forest for a creature that large and perhaps a village of big feet?
Well, I don't know if there are villages, but certainly there's enough to eat. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Would they eat a human?
If there was Bigfoot around my house, there's tons of stuff to eat around here, but there are no Bigfoot creatures on Long Island.
Do you think Bigfoot, has there been in any of your books, did anybody suggest that they eat humans?
Well, certainly humans claim they've attacked them. And in a lot of accounts, including, have you followed David Paulides at all?
Yeah, we had him on the show.
Oh, okay. I love David. And I was listening to David initially when he began, and I said to myself, this guy's really shrewd. I think he's leaning on Bigfoot here, but he's not saying it.
Right.
You know?
Yes, that's what he does.
I appreciated that. You know, I was just, I was along for the ride, and I believe his investigations and everything he was digging into was the truth. And these people out there were being found missing, limbs missing. And I have similar accounts in some of my books that jive with what he's talking about. So to me, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and you're meeting up with the wrong creature, your butt's grass and they're the lawnmower.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, you know?
Well, the name of at least one of your books that we have in our background, you say Terror in the Woods. Are these creatures terrorizing people in the woods?
Well, let me tell you something, man to man.
Okay.
I meet up with one of these things in the wood. Whatever happens from that point on, I'm definitely terrorized by it.
Oh.
Now, what am I going to do? I couldn't tell you. But this is why I always suggest to people, always carry more gun than you think you're going to need.
Oh, that's...
So if I'm going out there, I got a sidearm, I got a 12 gauge over my shoulder.
Right on.
That's it, brother. I mean, this is not going to be an arm wrestling match between me and the Bigfoot.
No, WJ, I like your style, brother. All right. Jade asked the question, our moderator, do you believe there have been friendly encounters between humans and Bigfoot?
Yeah. Yeah. But to me, this thing is an animal. And as with all animals, you could meet up with one that will allow you to pet it, and the next one is going to charge you and look to tear your butt up. So it's the same with dogs. It's the same with deer. It's the same with, you can name it. You get a nice one, you get a nasty one, and you get everything in between.
All right.
You get them on a good day, you get them on a bad day. You run into them when they're hungry and there's nothing around to eat, or you run into them when they're full and they're enjoying the day. I mean, it's just my opinion, I just look at what I see around me in general and I say, are these creatures any different? I don't think so.
So what do you think? So say a Bigfoot, let's just say he had a good supper. He's happy, whatnot. And now he wants to have some fun. Okay. What he do?
Well, he finds WJ walking through the woods and tries to jack him up before he can get out of the woods.
It's the funniest thing I ever heard.
Then he runs me down through the forest for kicks.
Wow. Yeah, man.
Yeah, who knows what they do? I have no idea. But, getting back to food sources, Daniel, we have right here where I live, just to name one animal available as a food source,
Okay. Okay.
we have a ridiculous amount of deer around here. I can drive almost in any direction, and if my eyes are wide open, I'm going to see a deer.
Wow. Nice.
I have herds of deer that are around my area here at night when I come home from work. I was just down by the shore and we saw a snowy owl hunting in the dunes.
Mm.
There is a plethora of wildlife around. Hares, birds, deer, raccoons, possums. I mean, you name it. Could something survive? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm by no means comparing where I live to Yellowstone Park. You know, is there food around? Absolutely. Is there food around to feed more than one of them in locations? Absolutely. You know, I'll share something with you. This is crazy.
Okay, good.
I had a fellow Bigfooter share with me about a one-eyed Bigfoot encounter in Florida. He said this guy shone a flashlight on the face of this thing, and it looked like its eye was all torn up on one side of the face. Now, I have an encounter that I named the Snake Collector.
Okay.
These two fellas met up on a drag race circuit in the United States. And this dude in Louisiana invited the other guy down. He said he would show him a good time if he ever came down to Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
He finds out from this guy that when he's not racing or on the mechanic team of this race as a mechanic on the race team, he's collecting snakes for venom.
Mm-hmm.
So he invites him down there and he takes him up on it. Well, they're out in this boat in the bayous going around at night with floodlights and an electric motor while this guy's nailing snakes out of the water with his bare hands.
Wow.
And they hear a splash. They come around the corner in this bayou, and he turns the floodlight on, and standing in front of them in the shallows, holding about a 6-foot-long gator that's limp, is a Bigfoot. This freaking thing saw them, took a couple of steps, leaped out of the creek, and was gone. But it had killed the gator.
Wow.
Now, I said to myself, that's how this Bigfoot in Florida lost its eye. Mm-hmm. I bet you the Bigfoot or the swamp monster, honey ape, whatever you want to call it, is grabbing gators as an easy food source.
Wow.
And maybe one nailed him in the face quicker than he could dispatch it.
Wow.
It's just a theory. But when I heard one and knew of the other one, I connected the dots in that fashion and said, it's a theory. Like, what does Louisiana have in common with Florida? Gators.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that your Bigfoot is more cunning and stronger than a big old gator.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
So they've got in a wrestling match.
You're talking have you ever seen a 5-6-foot gator?
No, man.
All right. So
we got no gators here in the Midwest, so I've never seen.
I mean, they're nasty looking, but if you were big enough and bad enough and stupid enough, you could jump on one of them, and if you had the strength, you could probably bust them in half, snap them. Yeah. I couldn't do it.
No.
Nor would I. But, you know, if I was freaking 9 foot tall and weighed 800 pounds, I might think again about it.
So would you say there's more than one kind of Bigfoot out there?
Well, that's tough. I mean, people, let me give you a comparison. My brother was up in Alaska this past summer. He stayed at a compound that was protected by armed guards 24 hours a day.
Okay.
He was taken into the bush by a bush plane to fish.
Okay.
For salmon. While he was there, they had an armed guard. He had a sawed-off pump-action shotgun. The bears were within 15, 20 feet of him the entire time he was fishing. The guard told him in all of the years he had been there, he never had to chamber around once or shoot a bear. He had said to my brother that the bear was so preoccupied and so geared to eating the salmon that his belief was they had no interest in him. Now, what I'm getting at is different kinds.
Okay.
We hear descriptions of Bigfoot. Some say white and gray. Some say gray and white. Some say black. A lot of people say brown with auburn or red highlights.
Oh, like the highlights.
My brother said when he was looking at the grizzlies, or what they call them, brown bears up there. Now, they're calling them brown bears, but some of them were blonde. Some of them were chocolate colored. Some of them were black. And they were all coming to the river to eat. So I don't know really what's going on there. I mean, globally, you've got the Yeti. You've got the Yowie down in Australia. We did a show on the rock apes in Asia. That was a mind blower. Mm-hmm. The rock apes were a breed of creatures. I can only describe them as Bigfoot creatures.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you something about the Yowie. If the Yowie had an owie, would he get upset if you shoot him?
The Yowie had an owie?
Yeah, if you shoot him.
Listen, if I shoot anything, I don't think they're going to get upset because they ain't going to be anymore. My specialty is trap shooting.
See, now that's it. Now
hitting a running target is what I'm good at.
Now, see, that's what differentiates you from some of the other Bigfoot experts we've had on, or people that have been on this show. They all say, if you see one, you got to leave him alone. You know, you don't want to hurt him or nothing, but you going to blast his ass.
No freaking way, man. No freaking way, man. If I say to people all the time, first of all, I don't want to be in close quarters with a Bigfoot.
No,
I don't want to.
No.
I wouldn't mind seeing one at 200 yards and a pair of field glasses. But I'm certainly not going to walk around in the dark with a pair of goggles on and no weapons. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, that's the most asinine thing you could do. If something came at me, put them on a slab, man. Just let them have it. Keep shooting till you can't chamber another round. I mean, that's where I'm at, man. Let them have it.
Wow. Yeah, whoa, man, you type A for sure on that one.
We're not fooling around.
No.
Look, I think everything deserves to live.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not. Something like that comes at me. Mm-hmm. It's fight or flight, and I'm gonna fight. Mm-hmm. So and then I'm gonna flight.
Mm-hmm. So, somebody want to know if Michelle Obama was a descendant. Now I can't even go with that question. There, we're going to go to another question. Do you feel, this is from Paul, do you feel that Bigfoots are coming out more these days? I mean, just look at these. Let me just read through here because people don't know about in your book. The Shenandoah Park sighting, the Fitzpatrick Wilderness sighting, the Rock Hounds encounter. I'm going to talk about it in a bit. The Vancouver evidence, the Great Divide Trail encounter, the Yellowstone scouting sighting, and the Strawberry Lake Trail 5 encounter. I mean, and you've got all these books and these stories, as you said in the first hour. People are coming to you. Are they reaching out? Are they making their presence more known now?
I have no idea, but in my books, I never counted them. Mm-hmm. Let's just say we're talking about a couple of hundred encounters.
Okay.
And I have more that are untouched here that I'm not going to get to for probably a year. But think of this. There's 9.5 million square miles of wilderness in North America. 9.5 million square miles. If there's been 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 encounters over a period of 100 years. Mm-hmm. I'm just throwing numbers at you.
Yeah, right.
That is a drop in the bucket. That is like the head of a pin compared to the surface of the earth. To me, it's negligible. And then how many people have not come forth? How many people have seen something dart across the road, mm-hmm. identified it as a Bigfoot, know damn well it wasn't a dancing bear, and we're never going to know about it. I mean, there is way more people out there that have seen this thing, and Daniel and Bill are not going to talk about what they saw because they're not telling anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So how many? Are there more coming out? I have no idea.
Mm.
But, my brother is really out there. And I don't mean they're out there mentally. He's a very intelligent man.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He takes on hikes. And in fact, my brother hasn't read all of my books.
Oh.
And when we do the podcast together, he never knows what I'm talking about. So what I speak about on the podcast is a surprise to him.
Wow.
I cannot tell you how many times my brother said to me after I read one of the accounts, I was there. I was at that fire tower. I was by Priest Lake hiking. I was over here. I mean, the guy is like everywhere. And he says, I've never seen anything.
Why is it? So therefore, that's right. Now, a lot of people, and that's why they're skeptics. They say all these people are making it up. But
right.
Do you think that, say, like in the sort of the UFO type of thing, some people claim that aliens make themselves visible or their presence known to only certain people. And of course, if that never happens to somebody else, they say, well, then you're crazy. You're just making it up. You're mental. But are they being selective about who they reveal their presence to in this reality?
I don't think so. Now, if you're talking about a Bigfoot?
Right. I mean, are they selective about who gets to see them?
I don't believe so. Not the natural
And I don't
creature.
I don't think they're going to reveal it to you, WJ, because they know you're packing. You're going to blast their ass. So I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they're not going to say hello, WJ.
You're assuming they know what I've got.
Yeah. Well, they could be mind.
Surprise!
People have said they're mind readers. In that case, you say this gun is really a banana. I'm hungry. Here, let me reach for my banana. Oh, well, maybe that's the wrong term for men to talk about. Okay. How about I'm reaching for a granola bar with a handle on it, and I'm going to chew it up. And so he's like, oh man, I'm going to get a snack. He's going to come running over to see you. And then you go, wait a minute, you lied to me. But by that time, you done capped off about 5 rounds. How you like that?
Oh, well, I don't go there. I like to have some laughs, but in all seriousness, I forgot your question.
I just tell the story. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good story.
No. The question was, are they selective about who they reveal themselves to?
Yeah, I don't believe so. I think most of these are accidental encounters.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that many of these creatures, like bears in a park getting used to food in a dumpster,
mm-hmm.
Start to get familiar with some properties.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you have apple trees in your yard.
Oh.
I had a guy who had a meat locker in his garage.
Mm-hmm.
That he stuffed with venison and elk and other stuff.
Yeah.
And this thing apparently had a sniffer that knew what was going on in the shed and decided to investigate,
Wow.
ripping the lock and the latch off of the meat freezer.
Wow. Is he hungry?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people see these things around lakes and rivers.
Yeah.
A lot of them have encounters completely accidentally, walking along or sitting in a blind.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing comes walking through just as they're hoping their next 8 or 10 pointer is going to walk through.
Right.
A lot of these are really accidental.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the things that are being found to me is circumstantial evidence that the people believe was from a Bigfoot. So who's to say? Who's to say?
Yeah. Do you have any speculation about how long they live?
I have no idea. No, I have no idea.
Okay. I said earlier, okay, now what about Chapter 51, The Rock Hound's Encounter?
Well, that was a really interesting story. I've always stood my ground that a lot of the people that encounter Bigfoot are people who are out there doing things that your everyday person is not doing, your average person is not doing. Now, this particular couple, they were what you call rock hounds. Mm-hmm. They were stone gatherers. They were gemologists, people looking around the country on their vacation trying to find valuable stones. And in this particular account, they were actually given a heads up by a couple they met doing a megalodon tooth dig. You know, the big sharks, the prehistoric sharks.
Mm-hmm.
They met a couple at a megalodon dig who came from up, I can't even think of what state they were in, but they told them that if you really want to find some nice stones, come up to where we live.
Mm-hmm.
So they took them up on it, and they went to this area where there was like a creek or a river that people walked around during the daytime. They described it as being like in a prehistoric forest, overgrown, little wooden bridges zigzagging over the river, the creek at places. And they had scoped out a couple of areas where they believed they might be fruitful in digging around looking for some gemstones. Well, it was in the course of digging in a sandbar in this creek or river that a Bigfoot stepped out into the river right near where they were.
Whoa.
Massive Bigfoot. They freaked out, and another Bigfoot showed up behind them in the trees right next to the other one, but didn't step into the river. They had a little like Mexican standoff for a few minutes. The thing turned and went back into the trees.
Wow.
So, you know, that's a bizarre thing. Now, one thing they pointed out was they heard a horn go off, like an air horn.
Okay.
And this was after the fact. They had heard an air horn go off, which to them meant that somebody in the park ran across a bear.
Wow.
And they had this little, little boat horn or whatever, blasting it to frighten the bear away. They speculated after the fact that maybe these people saw this thing and thought it was a bear and blew the horn.
Wow.
It's kind of odd. Now, here's something interesting for you. I guess you don't want me to read any of these stories, do you?
Yeah, we can, sure. You want to read a story?
I mean, they take a little while, but it's...
Hang on. Let me ask people in the chat. Hey, chatters, do you want WJ Shehan to read a story? All right, we'll just wait for a second here and see what they say.
Yeah, because, I mean, some of these stories they can take 10 minutes to read, and I don't want to overextend my welcome by reading you, but some of these accounts are, like, ridiculous. And this one that I brought here was kind of talking about the bones. When I was talking to you before about the bones being found in the woods. I've got two encounters that are totally circumstantial. No Bigfoot was seen at all. But the speculation as to what is going on here is, I challenge people to give me their conclusions. Because the people that are involved here, they certainly have made what they believe known. And they think it was a Bigfoot.
Okay. Well, in this time, since we've asked that question, here we go down the list. Jay, our moderator says, sure. Limit drop. Yes. Let's talk about if you can read it. You know, if they want to hear you read a story. Meow M. Absolutely. Sibylla Irwin, who's in the Bigfoot genre. Sure. Richard Brower. Yes. Gladys Kravitz. Yes. Dreamwalker. Thumbs up. Tony in Louisiana. Yep. Jim Taylorson. Sure. Paul Cece. I like a shorter one, but I'm good. Southern Boy. Give him another hour. Someone said he can take. This is a good one. This may be my favorite. You can take all the time you want because I am bored with the Corona lockdown, and this show is great. And then we got Scott Richardson says yes, and Don Morgan says yes. So that sounds like it's unanimous. William, you ready?
I'm ready now.
All right. Here we go.
I'm going to ask you something.
Go ahead.
I'm going to give you the choice, Daniel.
Okay.
I just brought a few things into the room here today.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you, do you want to hear about the bone pile? Do you want to hear about the fight? Or do you want to hear about the Tennessee tree stand incident?
I'm kind of in a fight mood right now. I got to go with the fight.
All right. Well, if you're going to go with the fight, this is going to fasten your seatbelt because when you're done hearing this, you may very well want to fall off the stool, because this is like none other. And this story came to me by way of a fellow named Brian Mahoney from Fargo, North Dakota. And this is Brian's tale as it was conveyed to me. I had long been tired of seeing the TV shows with people banging logs on trees and never seeing anything, when I ran across your query and decided to take you where the action is, WJ. In 1967, my dad and 3 other men in the neighborhood took me and 4 other boys on a trip to Ontario to fish for muskies. We found ourselves landing at Perrault Falls Airport, where we met up with a couple of float planes that ferried us up to a place near Ear Falls. My only memory was that we had rented a pretty big cabin for the week with plenty of room for all of us to rough it. But heck, we didn't care if we slept in the woods. We were up in the sticks, landing on the water in a seaplane, and we were going muskie fishing. The dads had hired a guide whose name was Lars, and we had 3 boats for the group. The boats were pretty big, something like 18 or 20 feet, and they had plenty of power to get us around in a hurry. Several days into the trip, we had been fishing into the fish hot and heavy every day, just as advertised, and we were landing muskies in a range of 28 to 36 inches on a regular basis. The fight of these fish pound for pound was outrageous, and if you've never caught them, or if you've ever caught them, most of the shoreline that we were fishing had forests coming right down to the water's edge, but periodically there was an area of bank with no trees on it that was visible along the shore. Now we're going to get into it, down and dirty. We had been fishing every day, facing the shore and pretty close to it for the most part. It must have been about 4 p.m. when we heard a loud and long roar coming from out of the woods. We all looked at each other and asked Lars, "What the hell is that?" He said it sounded like a large bear. 2 minutes after we heard the first roar, another one sounded off, coming from the opposite direction in the woods. We said that there must be either 2 of them or one very fast runner. Over the next 15 minutes or so, as we sat fishing the bank, we heard several more roars, and it seemed like they were being made back and forth by 2 different bears. At least that's what we thought. Now, before I continue, I have to set you up visually for what was about to happen. We were sitting in 3 boats, spaced maybe 150 feet apart. All of these boats were about 100 feet from the shore, facing one of these slopes on the bank that I just told you about. The water we were fishing in was approximately 6 feet deep, and the bottom was covered in the grasses that the muskies hung around in. We were all looking at each other from boat to boat as we listened to these roars, which sounded like they were getting closer to our position. I don't know why, but I felt that a fuse had been lit and a bomb was about to explode, and explode it did. Now dig this. Suddenly, in the woods directly in front of us, erupted in what I can only describe as a lion fight. The volume and intensity of the roaring was so loud that it hurt my ears. I couldn't see what was making the noise as of yet. I looked at the other boats to my right, and Lars was already waving to start the motors. As we started the engines, we were now all motoring further away from the shoreline, but everyone was still looking back at the trees. The roars almost drowned out the sound of our engines at times. We switched into neutral. All the boats were now about 300 feet from the shore facing the woods, and it was so intense that I was trembling. I could now make out 2 large figures engaging in an apparent battle for supremacy just inside of the tree line. The roaring was unrelenting as the struggle ensued within the trees. At one point, I almost felt as though I was going to faint. I really can't find the words to describe my emotions. Right at a time when I thought that things couldn't possibly get any worse, these two giant black beasts came tumbling out of the trees, rolling down the embankment, smacking and biting each other. Both of these beasts were now in the water, and every time one started to stand, the other one would slap it, and they would grapple, smashing each other into the water. Each time one bit the other, the screams of pain were even louder than when they had been apart. I remember thinking that I wanted to stop watching and listening, but I couldn't. I could tell that one of the beasts was starting to get the better of the other. And finally, with one titanic blow, the creature's body buckled to the ground and it lay there unmoving. The victor stood leering over the other one, growling ever more intensely and pounding its chest in a moment. And it reminded me of King Kong when he beat the dinosaur. I mean, this is just freaking nuts. I thought the downed beast was dead. It lay half in the water and half out, face down and not moving. Then the other beast turned to face us, and raising its head into the air, let out what sounded like a half roar and a half scream as it pumped its fists and flexed its upper body. I'm skipping a few lines. A few moments later, it walked up the bank, roaring and screaming into the woods, and everyone in the boats was shell-shocked. Some of the guys were holding their heads like they were losing their minds, and none of us could say a word. So let me go forward a little bit. He had said that he never experienced anything like this. Obviously, who would? He said Laws had said that when Laws had said that the roars sounded like a big grizzly, something said to him that it wasn't true. He said, up until that point in my life, I had never heard anything living make a sound that loud. It was as intense as a diesel train's whistle. Had it been closer, it may have broken our eardrums. And when they were fighting in front of us, some of the other guys actually had their hands to their ears. And the oars that were laying on the aluminum boat seats were vibrating. Another thing was the fight itself. At no time during the fight did they hit each other with a closed fist. They were slapping each other open-handed, grappling, and biting. It seemed to me that the biting was used to get an advantage during what appeared to be a wrestling match. The fight had been so intense that I couldn't understand how either of them could withstand another second before one of them had dropped. Lars had went back the following day, and the one that was in the water was gone. So he says that maybe it survived, but we will never know. Now, listen to this. When they were slapping and thrashing each other around in the water, the waves that they were creating were rocking our boat offshore. They were incredibly large, and when their mouths were open and roaring, in particular the one that in the end was looking at us while roaring, I could see huge white teeth, and it looked like a bowling ball could fit in its mouth with no problem. The two of them had to be in excess of 10 feet tall and perhaps up to 2,000 pounds. So here's his description we were talking about before with like just gigantic, you know. Do I think they were 2,000 pounds? I have no way of knowing, but he's describing something that's mammoth. And they're watching these things engaging in this like Greco-Roman animal wrestling match, slapping and biting each other on the lake when they're fishing. It goes on a little bit, but I think that gives you the gist of what these guys ran across up in Canada in 1967. Certainly nothing that they expected ever to see, and certainly nothing that you and I will probably ever get to see. But here you have creatures fighting it out, like two bucks going rack to rack in the woods, two rams on a mountainside, two Bigfoot this woods is mine. No, it's not. It's mine. Okay, let's see what you got. I mean, it's just crazy.
Wow.
It is crazy.
Wow, that's a heck of a story there. It just reminded me of an audiobook, man.
What's that? Talking about it?
Yeah. You ever heard of an audiobook?
Yeah, well, I do audiobooks.
Oh, well, there you go. That was a great one right there.
Yeah, no. In fact, volumes 2 through 6 are currently available in audio form at Audible. So if anybody's interested in that, you can lock into that.
Okay, so what do they search for? W.J. Shehan or Audible or Bigfoot or what?
Well, yeah, Bigfoot Terror in the Woods, sightings and encounters. W.J. Sheehan, that'll get you Amazon, iTunes, Audible. You can get paperbacks, you can get ebooks. You could even read in the Kindle lending library a lot of these accounts for yourself.
Well, WJ, you said you gave the land mass of forest in the United States, which sounds like it's mammoth in itself, and then all these accounts. I think we're talking tens of thousands. How many Bigfoot accounts does it take for Bigfoot to be real? Of say 10,000, how many does it take to make it actually real?
I think one from a truthful person.
Just one, right? That is correct. The answer is one.
All it takes is one.
So we are.
I don't believe everybody. My brother had been hitting on some old news reports going back to the 1800s, involving the hairy man, and I stand my ground, particularly then as well as now. A man's word was his bond. If you go back, I don't think a man's word is worth a hill of beans today. Of course, it depends the men that you know. Most of the people that I know casually, their word means nothing. To me, there's nothing they wouldn't say or do that may benefit them over you. You're never going to give somebody a piece of real estate over a handshake these days. It's just not happening, Daniel.
No.
But there was a time when you and I looked each other in the eye and shook hands, and the deal was done. And you were a disgrace beyond disgrace.
Right.
If the deal was not in fact done.
But then one day somebody didn't like the deal. They wanted to crawfish on it, so they sued him. And then in come the lawyers. Then in come the signed papers, and out goes the handshake.
So on and on we go. But the point I'm making is, there was then, and there still are now, people that wish it was still that way. And people who can reliably give you a piece of information. Look at the Whitehall account. Look at the Whitehall Bigfoot account, where those couple of officers, one that came very forward with his testimony and the other one that wanted to remain out of the picture. The police officer says that, here I am, now seeing something that I was told is not to exist. And there it is standing before me. There it is. This is not supposed to be. This is what I was told. And yet, here I am, looking at this thing face to face. And it was undeniable. And I'm not going to lie to you and say I didn't see it. I did see it. And whether or not you believe me or not is of no consequence to me. I know what I saw. It was there. It was a Bigfoot. And that's it. So, he or me, if I see a Bigfoot, Daniel, the UFO encounter I just told you about down at Shinnecock Inlet was as real as you on the screen in front of me. It happened. If you don't believe me or nobody else believes me, it doesn't matter to me. I saw a snowy owl hunting today. It's the second time I saw a snowy owl in my life.
That's a sign right there.
It happened this afternoon. I know what I saw.
Well, when the time was that a handshake was a deal, and a bond, an unbreakable, unspoken truth of an agreement between two people. You just reminded me, and I don't really want to get political about this, but it struck me when President Trump was having the daily coronavirus update, that reporters were berating him for offering up hope. And I thought, what the hell is this? He said, you're trying to give people hope. Why are you trying to give people hope for? I'm thinking, that's his job. When did trying to give somebody hope become a freaking crime? People in this today, people need hope. And there's nobody even offering any hope. We know the hope that we have inside. We know where that comes from. But for the vast majority, people need hope. And so they're all berating him as if he's committing a crime right in front of them, saying, "Well, you're just saying stuff. You're just trying to give people hope." And I thought, man, is this where we're at in the culture? We're offering up hope is a bad thing.
Well, it's where some people at, but it's not where I'm at.
I'm not there.
Now, Daniel, me and my wife are praying like it's no tomorrow. I was just praying an hour before you called me before to make sure we were still good. I'm praying for humanity. I'm praying for everybody that I know and that I don't know. And I'm not asking anybody if it's okay that I pray for you. I'm going to pray for you in spite of your doubts that my prayers are going to have anything good come of them. And that's where I'm at. I don't ask if it's okay if I do something good today or tomorrow. And I don't need the approval of anybody to do something good today or tomorrow. If everybody would spend their days thinking about doing something good for their fellow man instead of trying to frickin' chisel them or rip them off, this world would be a better place. So my opinion about this whole corona thing is that the Almighty is trying to get our attention. And this is one heck of a way of doing it. I think you'd agree with me.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think a lot of people have discovered that man is not their source. And if they have things that are available to them, it's not because of some miraculous deal or science that man has created. They're there. And that's the reason why I pray over food. You know, every time I eat, I always thank God, because there's so many people in the world that don't have anything. And we have to realize that if God says that we've got to learn a lesson, there's no food there, or however, now I don't want to get into a discussion of that type of thing, but if food's not there, it's maybe there's something in your life that maybe God's maybe trying to get your attention. And this whole thing could turn around and make people, and you said it in the first hour, that people seem to be more, what do you say, sensitive or?
Well, let me give you an example. When 9/11 happened here in New York, when the Twin Towers got taken out, there was a spirit of peace around this area that I had never known in my life. And it lingered for about 3, 4, 5 weeks, something like that. And then it started to dwindle. People were holding doors. People were at four-way stops and insisting that you go before they do. People were being kind. There was a spirit, a palpable spirit that took over the people when they realized what had happened and that we had to stand together. And I work with a lot of wise guys. And I don't mean that the business is one of wise guys. When I say wise guys, I'm talking about people who are neither here nor there spiritually. This kind of, I do what I want to do and nobody's going to tell me what to do. I like to drink a lot. I party. You know, I got a couple of chicks I hang around with. And the chicks are the same way. You know, in other words, they have this lifestyle that doesn't lend itself to any rules. There's no right. There's no wrong. And all of a sudden, as this thing is starting to take shape, the attitude is changing a little bit, if you catch my drift. We're not so boisterous.
Proud?
We're not so proud. Maybe a little humility is coming. Maybe a little fear factor is coming into play here, then I'm not so bold. I'm not so brash. I could lose my ass tomorrow. How about that? So, this is what's going on here, in my opinion, and it's working.
Mm-hmm. That is interesting. And another thing is that on the brighter spot, I don't know where you are on abortion. I know that one state had to stop abortions because of close proximity of social distancing, and there are good stories coming out. Even from, I mean, I think just before I came on the air, I read, I think it was on PBS, something that there was and I haven't verified it. I just read it real quick before I came on. It said that they are stopping foreclosures on houses or stopping rent or mortgage payments for those people who have lost their jobs due to coronavirus. Bayer gave 3 million tablets of quocaline or whatever that promising drug is to the government. So there are, and then another interesting thing I just read a while back. There was a Trump rally, and there's two people of Spanish descent, or maybe they were Spanish, have a restaurant, I think in Texas, and somebody said they saw them there, and then they wanted to get them for supporting Trump. There were two Mexican Americans, a man and a wife, that owned a bar and grill or grill or Mexican restaurant, and so people were giving them death threats for showing up there. And then I just read, I went to their Facebook page, and those people there are saying, if you lost your job due to coronavirus, you come down to our Mexican restaurant and we'll feed you for free. So
how do you like that?
I love that. And we need more of that. And we talk about hope. People need hope. And I hope that people are being nicer to each other. And, this country been in this divide for 4 years that is a spirit of anger. And I hope that some of that starts to fade away when we realize we're all in this thing together.
Hey, listen, you come into our hospital, we don't care if you're blind, crippled, bow-legged, or crazy. We're going to treat you whether you're nasty to us or whether you're nice to us. I mean, and that's what humanity's supposed to be about. I'll get you well, and then I'll teach you how to be a human being. You know what I mean? Wow. Remember the Apostle Paul said, I'll use my faith to get you well, and then I'll teach you faith. Mm. So, that's a man. I realize you may not be in the same mindset that I am, but I'll work with you, and together we'll pull this thing off, Wow. And then we can have a discussion about the how and the why and my opinion and your opinion. But for right now, we've got an enemy in front of us, and we need to kick its ass and kick it now.
Mm-hmm. So WJ Shehan, are you suggesting that we need to fight this coronavirus devil, and then we can go back and kick Bigfoot's ass next? I'm just saying.
You misunderstood me.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not looking to get in a wrestling match with Bigfoot.
Okay.
I told you it's going to be a long-distance encounter, or a short-distance encounter with some 12-gauge slugs flying from me to it.
That's just so funny. Wow. And that's really a great way to end a show, with a hearty laugh, and some camaraderie here, and maybe some good words of wisdom for our audience there. WJ Shehan, where can people get these books one more time, and tell us about your website too?
Well, we have a webpage, BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com, where all of our podcasts are listed. But we have a podcast on any podcast browser you have. Just type in Bigfoot Terror in the Woods, WJ Shehan, and you're going to come. We got about 50 shows out there right now. And then the books are all available at Amazon in paperback, ebook, and Kindle format. And like I said, at Audible, I've got 4 or 5 volumes already recorded. So you can download them and listen to them in your car or whatever you're into. But everything that I do revolves around Bigfoot Terror in the Woods, sightings and encounters, and of course my name. But I'm out there, and I'm just going to keep going and keep beating the drum. We're having a lot of fun with this. And, I have an extreme interest in this topic. There's a variety of other topics as well. But we're just going to keep going as long as we have breath, But I just encourage everybody out there, if you're listening to this podcast, all kidding aside, join up with us in a spirit of prayer across this country and across this globe. If you're listening to this podcast, you need to pray with us. And I don't care what you're praying, but if you agree with us, and wherever two or more are gathered in God's name, he says, I'm in your midst. So let's just kind of get together and focus on what's important here. We're having a little fun here today talking Bigfoot, and I got nothing against that. We got to break the schneid mentally over the anxiety and the anguish that's coming on a lot of people. But having said that, let's just join together. And I think that if we come into agreement, we're going to see this thing go.
Well, WJ, I don't want to put you on the spot, but there are a bunch of people in the live chat. You want to lead us in a prayer?
Well, sure. We could do that if you don't mind.
I don't mind. Done it before.
Okay. So, Heavenly Father, we come together in your holy name, and we ask you in a spirit of humility to drive this virus far from us. Whatever lessons are to be learned, let them be learned with no further loss of life. Father God, help the healthcare workers. Protect all of those who are in the front lines. Give hope to those families who have a sick loved one in their midst right now. And we ask that this event would lead to a furtherance of peace and human kindness amongst mankind, both here and abroad. And we ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Very, very nice. Very nice. And we all joined with you in that prayer and believe in that prayer. And like you said, we're 2 or 3 more gathered. There I am in the midst. We know that Jesus is in the midst of this conversation, in the midst of his people. And hopefully we can all join in prayer and continue those prayers and see where God leads this country. WJ Sheehan, I appreciate you coming on the Edge broadcast. It was awesome to have you here. The people in the chat just love you. Can we have you back on again sometime?
Anytime. You just knock on my door and I'll be there.
I believe it too. And a man's word is his bond.
Well, you heard it here.
Okay.
If I'm lying, I'm dying.
Okay. That right there is why I want you back.
Yeah, anytime, Daniel. I'm a people guy. I love talking the subject. One of the things that thrills me is talking to the people that write into me. I can't tell you how many people I've called on the phone and they're like, you think they were talking to a movie star, and I'm just like, hey man, I told you to give me your number and I'll call you. Here I am. What'd you expect? A good humor, man?
Okay.
All right. So yeah, we'll definitely get together, Daniel. Anytime you want, just give me a shout. You know where to get me.
Yep. I sure will. Stay safe. Right. Stay safe out there.
I will, brother. You too.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. That was WJ Sheehan right here on the Edge Television broadcast talking about Bigfoot.